lot has changed since Gary Vaynerchuk wrote Jab, 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 Right Hook back in 2013. But there's still a lot of people following the core principles of that idea, and it's more than a decade old. We're talking about a time before ChatGPT and mountains of AI content, before TikTok ever launched and held our audience's attention in its grip, 4 years before Diary of a CEO launched, and it was pre-Loom, both the little video app and the brilliant album by Imagine Dragons, and it was before the pandemic. The world has changed, and how we all buy has changed. And even Gary V's content strategy has changed. So today, I'm going to show you 3 different emails that you should be sending every single month, but you probably aren't. Look, sending emails where no one clicks is crushing. No one clicks, that means you're not going to be sending them to your sales page, and that means they can't buy even if they wanted to. And there's one resource that I send to my private clients that they go bananas over, and it's different ways to actually give a call to action, like a link in your emails, and basically it makes them stand out, and it beats that whole scroll blindness of another one, and it really gets people rushing to click the links in your over to your sales page. I call it Click Tricks. You can download it right now for free just by going to emailmarketingheroes.com/tricks, emailmarketingheroes.com/tricks, or you can scan the QR code that's on the screen somewhere. So yeah, Gary V's idea was, in his Jab, 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 Right Hook, was to send 3 pieces of value and then ask for the sale. And then apparently he later said he wished he'd called it Jab, 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 Right Hook, or something like that, right? Which like give lots of value. That's amazing to me, because today, like now, like more than a decade later, like that was back in 2013, right? People don't have the attention for that. And it also means that the people who urgently want your solution are being put off, and they're gonna go somewhere else for help, right? So there are 3 different emails that you should be sending every single month that will actually help you make more sales, and most people I speak to are just not sending them. So just make sure that you do. And the first one I call the reply email. So instead of having a link in the email, you literally ask the person to reply. And this is really good because basically I strip out all of the links, as many as I can. I remove any kind of signature with tons of links in. I try and remove as many links as possible. That really helps with email deliverability, but I'll get into that in a second. Basically, imagine if like my mum sends me an email. She doesn't ask me to click a link. She asks me to reply. Hey, what do you think of this? Should we do this, right? So when you send an email that asks for a reply, you instantly become way more human, right? In this AI-infested world that we live in, this is more important than ever to be more human. I want you to send, at least once a month, I want you to send what I call the reply email. And that's an email where you take all links out, any extraneous or superfluous, whatever big fancy word you want to use, any extra links that you don't need, take them out of the email and have the person reply. And it could be a reply to, hey, I've just put together some information about a new program, a new offer, a new thing. Hit reply and I'll send you the information. Would you like to speak to somebody? You could do it as a call booking funnel. We have some clients doing that. It works really, really well. The other thing that happens when you have less links in the email is that is way less marketing looking than an email that's full of links or has links in it with call to actions, like marketing, compelling, urgent call to actions, click this now, all that sort of stuff. So it's probably going to almost always gets a much better placement in the email inbox. So that's really awesome when you're sending emails. The other thing I really like about it is when people reply to your emails, replying to your emails and you ending up in a conversation, you replying back to them, even if it's just with the resource that they asked for, that's a really good indicator to Gmail, Microsoft, Yahoo, and their bunch of merry men that you are a good sender. And so again, it helps with your future deliverability of your emails as well. So once a month, definitely be sending out a reply email. The second one are success stories. Look, I'm actually going to show you a technique to make your client success stories really, really stand out and pop. And they work really well because I've got an itchy nose. Oh, there we go. Okay. Because they work really well because it shows others that that other people are having success with what you teach, and that there are other people around. Like, no one wants to be the first person, right? Nobody wants to be the guinea pig. Very few people want to be the guinea pig, right? They want to know that if they work with you, if they enroll in that program, if they apply to work with you, if they're successful, if they buy that program from you, they buy that solution from you, they want to know that other people have had success with this thing. It's not just you, because you could kind of say anything. Like, I'm going to trust truthful in the things that you say, but it's important to people to see, oh, others have had success with this thing as well. So tell them the stories of other people who are having success. The reason we want to do this as a story, not just, hey, this person made this money, or this person lost this amount of weight, or this person achieved X result, is because when we package something as a story, people can emote. They can feel something from a story, right? You can't from a list of facts. And when we feel things, we take action. And one of those actions might be to buy, or to enroll, or to apply. So, and then what you're going to do is you're going to tell these success stories, and make sure at least once a month you are sharing a client or some client successes. And one of the best techniques to make these client success stories really work well is to big up the client. Talk about them in a way where you admire them. Tell your audience about the things you admire about this successful client. And specifically, to take us to another level, you want to talk about attributes of that client that other people would like to have associated with them. This is a technique that fraudulent psychics and cold readers use a lot, and they have used, and when I used to do exposing of them on TV shows and in my work back in the day, we used to use this technique, and you could see fraudulent psychics using this, and this is literally buttering people up, saying, oh, I get the sense you're an honest person. Well, no one's going to go, oh, no, I'm not an honest person, or, you're the kind of person who's a good listener. Well, no one's ever going to decline that as a compliment, right? But you're not saying it as a compliment, you're really framing it as an attribute to that person. So, and you're going to do this in a really indirect way when talking about the client who had success, because what happens in all advertising, if you look at how they advertise, especially things like perfumes, aftershaves, deodorants, and things like that on television, is they will create these atmospheres of attributes you want to be associated with. So how do you advertise a scent on TV when there's no scent? Well, you show people what they want to be associated with. They want to be associated with someone who looks healthy and wealthy or successful, or maybe they look like they're sporty or athletic. We do that by association. That's kind of a fundamental of marketing. We're going to apply that same technique into when you share testimonials, when you share client success and case studies, okay? And the way we do that is we say, hey, here's Sarah. She's this awesome lady. She's one of those really determined people who I really love working with. She's been through a lot of hard stuff, but she pushes through. And what I really like about it, she's like really honest and she's really transparent. She really cares about her clients. And what she achieved was, and then you go into the thing that she achieved. When someone hears all of that preamble, all of those attributes of praise about that client, they're like, oh, they're attributes that I would like to be associated with too. That person sounds good. You build them up so they feel positive about the person, and this is the result they got. And it doesn't just make the person think, a lot of people think the basics of testimonials, like the testimonials and social proof 101 is, hey, somebody else got the result, maybe I can get the result too. To take it to a whole deeper psychological level, I could do a whole episode on this, and perhaps will in the future if you'd like me to do that, by the way. Just put a comment below and I'd love to do that, only if it's of interest, of course. Another level of doing this is when you take it to a point of getting them to want the outcome, so the weight loss they want or the income they want, whatever it is your outcome that you promise people or you help people with. If you also associate these additional attributes which are to do with their identity. So build them up and associate them. So that's that second type of email is, and even if you didn't do that advanced stuff, just by telling the stories, telling success stories of people who are having results and celebrating them in public, it allows people to go, wow, this is good. So do it through like a celebratory in public type thing. And the third one is what I call a personality email. And part of personality is vulnerability. But one of the things I want to talk about vulnerability that people get wrong is vulnerability doesn't just have to be sharing something you're shit at or talking about something that made you really sad. Like I see all of these keynote speakers at all these events talking about this awful thing that happened to me and I went through this tragic thing. Yes, we've all had, many of us have been through very difficult, very challenging times in our lives, me included, multiples of those. And it seems to be a bit of a cheap tool these days to just continuously roll out the sob story. And maybe that's my British cynicism speaking, I don't know, but rolling out the sob story, like, I hear you, you've been through some stuff, you've been through some stuff, I've been through some stuff, that person's been through, we've all been through some stuff, and those things are part of what's shaped who we are today. That is a broad, applies to everybody. What I'm talking about here is sharing vulnerability in terms of not just showing up with your sob story, which, by the way, sharing difficult times you've been through, you can definitely do. I don't think you should roll it out all the time. Like, it's not really my vibe to do that, because I kind of have this thing where I want to bring positivity to the world. Whenever I do things in my life to build positivity into the world, and I'll probably share some of those ridiculous things that I do just to make people smile in my everyday life, and I'll maybe talk about that at some point. In fact, I'll do it at the end of this video, because I think one of them will make you laugh. But yes, with personality and vulnerability, it doesn't just have to be the sob stories. It can be showing behind the scenes. Oh, here today, I'm actually just sitting working in my garden. Here's a photo of, that kind of thing. Or here's a photo of me. I'm just working away at my desk. I've had a really tough day. I've had a really good day. I've had a really productive day. I've just got off a meeting with my accountant. Like, showing people, taking people behind the scenes of what's going on. Another kind of vulnerability is showing people things that are not just from your work life, not just from, if you're a personal trainer, not just telling people about your workout and your food routine and your sleep routine and the supplements and your morning routine, your evening routine, and your routine. Instead, you could show them bits about, oh, it was my mum's birthday, I just took her for this lovely meal. Or it could be, we've just done this really thing, we've just been to a concert. Like, take people behind the scenes. My kid got this award at school, or my niece got into this university. Taking people into that thing, it is vulnerable. It's vulnerable because it's taking people beyond that initial facade of just the business. Basically, give people a personal story of something from your life. Because here's the thing, if you are just showing up and giving value over and over again in your emails, you're not doing these 3 different types of things, like basically the way that Gary Vee talked about all those years ago, it doesn't work today, right? That doesn't work as well today because of our lower attention spans. It's because of our attention being pulled in lots of different directions. Just before we finish off today, I'll just quickly share with you what I alluded to before. I really feel like one of my things I like to do in life is to bring joy to people. Even if I'm not about bringing joy to people just to get the applause or to get the praise for it. So one of the things I did is, on my phone, I've changed my Hotspot name to something funny. And the reason I've changed it to something funny, I've changed it to, does my hotspot look big in this, right? And the reason, and before that, on my previous phone, it was pretty fly for a Wi-Fi, right? So, but I do this because when I get on a train or when I'm in a coffee shop and I'm tethering from my phone and people are able to see what my hotspot's called, and they might be having a bit of a crappy day, or they might have just got out of a bad meeting, or they just might not be feeling good. If they see that, it might just give them a little wrinkle. I'm not asking for a big laugh out loud. I'm not expecting to end up with some massive comedic moment, but it might just create a little grin, a little micro smile that just lightens someone's day. And that might be when I'm on the train. I don't know what's going on, but I know that I've done something. And that brings me a lot of joy. And by the way, if you, I know a lot of people say, like, we talked about bringing value and what should you do instead. If you want to see what you should do instead of just giving value and giving value and giving value, definitely check out this video here, where I talk more about what you should do instead. And if you haven't already, click like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one.